Hi, welcome everyone to the Empowered Women Retreat. It is so great to have you here. We are in for a treat for 7 days of incredible insights and tools to help break free from things that are holding you back in business, in life, and in love. And I am Kara Whitney, a transformation coach, and I'm thrilled to have you here. And we are so lucky to have the amazing Naomi Aldort with us today for our session. And she is going to be talking about raising resilient children into empowered and powerful and caring people. And I want to tell you a little bit about Naomi. She is a best-selling author of Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves, and she offers numerous venues for helping families and parents. She does virtual sessions, workshops, online classes, speaking events, retreats, and she really brings an element of peace and self-realization, a deep connection for families and children, for individuals and couples, and she works worldwide. She is not about gentle ways of controlling a child or a spouse. Her approach is really about bringing peace without having to control. And it's about a way of being and of understanding children so that they can be and do their best, and not from a place of fear, not from a place of seeking validation or approval, but really from their own free will, from their own inherent desire. And she brings peace and clarity to difficult situations for families. And it could be ordinary challenges or more difficult circumstances as well. Children of all ages, and even pregnancy and marriage, or extending to relatives and adult children. She guides families around diet and lifestyle as those reflect in the way a child behaves or how they learn, their sleeping, and their overall health. Naomi goes from an attachment parenting to optimal development and siblings aggression. She addresses all of these aspects: sleep, tantrums, defiance, marriage, educational choices, and more. And she has developed a holistic approach to working with families. And it's all about transforming those parent-child relationships from a place of reaction and struggle to a place of freedom and joy and empowerment. She's developed a formula, a self-communication formula, and it's been praised by providing the best of the work of Byron Katie, as well as nonviolent communications. And I'm so thrilled to have you here today, Naomi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kara. It's a joy.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, before we start into some of the questions and topics, I wanted to preface a couple of things around some interesting statistics that I uncovered. And I think it's fascinating. There are about 2 billion mothers in the world right now. And if you look at the overall population of women, that's about half of the women of the world. And one of the really interesting things in light of some of the more challenging dynamics that are happening in families today, and even some of the struggles with women and their empowerment path and how that plays out into their roles as being moms. In the US, a quarter of children, nearly a quarter, are living with one parent. And that is actually more than 3 times what we're seeing elsewhere in the world. And it's interesting to think, how that affects those dynamics and how things play out for us as moms, and wanting to do the best that we can, the way that we show up for ourselves and for our children.
Mhm.
So I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's not only interesting, it's sad.
It is so sad and
Yeah.
definitely
And
challenging.
it's an implication, it's the result of lots of things that we're doing not so well in this country uh,
Yeah,
because these issues. So that would be a whole other interview
right, right.
to go
Yeah,
into
so
the causes and what to do, etc. But Yeah.
So much to talk about related to this
Yeah.
topic.
Yes.
Um, well, one of the things that I wanted to get your take on is how can moms and parents best walk that line with their children between being conscious and loving parents that are committed to helping their children thrive, to being accountable, but ultimately to honoring their children's journey and who they are as individuals, and really in the context of a world that's not necessarily always getting the bigger picture and kind of looking at more of the small scope of things in life.
Being conscious, loving, and committed mother uh, is what makes children thrive and be who they want to be. It's not how you do that and at the same time, it's like when you do that, that's when the children grow up more capable. So it's actually being loving parents, committed and help them thrive is what will make them be more empowered, more capable, more resilient. But there are lots of details that I can break down because we have now actually an epidemic of anxiety in young people. And we make a lot of mistakes that go disempower the children. Um, and I would say there is a core issue, and that is seeking approval, which goes together with being easily offended by everything, and not being able to fail and rise again, which is the nature of power. And we have children who grow up seeking approval uh, because parents are giving them praise and prizes, and parents think that their little child needs to hear that they're the best and the only and unique and spatial. So my recent song to parents is, please raise ordinary people. Stop giving them this feeling that they're this unique thing, because it's a huge burden. And combined with that, you're teaching them to fit in, and to, like saying to them when you go to school or when your other kids, fit in, do what everybody else's does. No, be yourself is fine. Also see how to behave in a certain setting. So you take other people into account. And I teach a lot on techniques. I actually invented lots of games. Part of my teaching technique is inventing games to do with the children that passes on to them concepts that allow them to be competent as social beings. But not seeking approval, not needing someone else to approve you, to praise you, to reward you, give you a good grade, or to always succeed, uh, is powerful. Powerful people do not seek approval. And
Coming
that,
from within, right?
yes, and that starts all the way from babies. Like people ask me, shouldn't my toddlers sleep by themselves already so they can become independent? And I say to them, what's his independent choice? If it's to
Mm.
sleep with you, then sleeping with you teaches him independence, because
Boy,
he's
that makes so
learning
much sense.
how I feel inside is right. And I'm succeeding to communicate that to my mother and father, and they're responding to it, which means it's right. It's not something I have to fight or go against. So, but parents often um, model seeking approval. Like, what
Yeah.
grandma said, what will the doctor say? Let's ask your teacher in school if this is going to work. When we do that, when we seek an approval from relatives, from doctors, from whoever, from the media, for looking, we're modeling to our children this kind of dependency on the opinions of others. Am I looking good? Did I behave right? Did I do the right thing? Fit in. And then parents get anxious when their child is in public and isn't behaving like an adult, like this father told me he took his his two children actually, to the movies, to a children's movie. And they stand in line. There was a long line. And one of the two children decided to use the long waiting time to meander between people standing in line. And the father was so, that's a seeking approval of the father. Am I looking good as a father if I let my child do that? And so he was anxious, and he kept telling his daughter, don't walk between the people, it disturbs them, and so on and so forth. And he asked me what could I have done better. And I said, do nothing. That's her relationship with all these other people. If they don't have
Ah,
enough self-esteem and inner power to tell a child, when you run around like this is disturbing us, please stop doing that, or they're simply not disturbed by it, why do you have to intervene and tell your child, be afraid of other people and abide by what they want? Our own child at age 2 and 3 used to go in restaurants and talk to people at other tables. He was like a little, president going and talking to the constituents. But what he was talking about is dinosaurs.
love
He
that.
knew by heart a book of dinosaurs. So he will describe, we could tell when his little hand went up like this, we knew he's talking about Brachiosaurus with the long neck. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very cute. But people would ask me, why do you let him do that? He's disturbing those other people. And same thing, he chose to do that. He doesn't want to eat. Every time we went to a restaurant, he got so excited because he's going to talk to people.
Yeah.
What if they have a romantic dinner? Well, they can say to a 3 years old, thank you, and now we want our time for ourselves. And he wouldn't be insulted because he wasn't seeking approval.
You bring up such an interesting point because it's almost like we're taking away opportunities for people of all ages to
Yes,
have their own agency in the moment, their own opportunity to create a boundary and to communicate effectively,
exactly.
as opposed to trying to figure out, oh, somebody might think this or might think that, and so we better adjust our behavior and maybe teach our children that as well. But then it also perpetuates this
Exactly.
disempowerment in listening to our own
Not only
internal
that,
guidance
but the
system.
culture reinforces it. The culture would ask parents to hold their children and make them behave well. So, in a
Yeah.
few hours ago, I gave a session to a father who said that his 4 years old son was pushing in an airplane when they came, they were traveling, and he was pushing on the seat ahead of him. And that the person sitting on that seat asked the father to take care of his son, which was not effective. And but I taught this guy, so he already did what I was teaching him. So he said to the guy, you tell him that it disturbs you because he doesn't believe me because you're not complaining. See, they don't believe us. We tell them we must get out of the pool. Why?
Yeah.
Tell the guard, tell my kid, he doesn't believe me. He's having a good time. The pool works. We tell them all kinds of things for another person. And in a way, it's patronizing. The grown up in an airport, in the airplane, sitting on his seat, should be able to talk to another human being, no matter what their age, as long as they're verbal, and tell them, hey, this is disturbing, stop it. And then it's more effective. The child takes it seriously because it's real. It's not daddy tells me, well, the guy didn't say anything, so I don't think it disturbs me. So no wonder he does not cooperate with what the father is saying. There's no proof to it. It's not happening, right?
Some of the top tools and techniques that you find work to help kind of break this pattern, because it does seem to be more of a cultural or
Yeah.
almost like a intergenerational conditioning, if you will. And
Yes. So what I suggested to this guy, and he did that, is to talk to the other person and say if they disturb you. I told in restaurants sometimes if I saw that people were shy, I would
yeah.
say to them, I'll go over, it's all right to tell him that you had enough. Just
Oh,
encouraging them. right? It's a little patronizing. I'm acting as a guide, but people have no self-esteem, it's kind of help them.
Yeah,
Or
it
they've
gives them
been
like a little
racist.
opening.
Yeah, a little help. Sometimes. I may have done it only once in the 2 years that he was doing that all the time.
Yeah,
So it's mostly about actually asking other people, please, if my child disturbs you, let them know. It's better if it comes from you than from me. Because if it comes from me and you don't complain, my child doesn't believe me.
right.
I make more no sense to my kid. And that's what happens with a lot of people, that the man standing in the line, he kept telling his daughter to stay with them and to stop doing that and that it disturbs people. She looks at him, well, I don't think it disturbs people. They're not saying anything, right?
Finding in terms of the evolution of that more conscious way of parenting where where the parent is really making an effort to honor honor that their boundaries, what they need for self-care, but also being that nurturing presence for their children, empowering their children as well. And sometimes those are not in alignment because there
So give me
there's
an
just going to be
example.
yeah. Well, for example, if a child is really wanting to do X, Y, or Z, and there's something going on for the family, and the mom is creating an effort to try to get the child to cooperate in support of a bigger picture thing for the family. Maybe it's a family event and they're needing to leave the house or something like that. I'm just making up a
So
hypothetical
let's
scenario, but
say, okay, well, let me make a hypothetical that I hear a lot. So let's say you have guests.
okay.
Okay. And let's say there are people for dinner and other people to take care of, adults and children. And the younger child, is bored and he's disturbing and he's asking for attention. My answer to that is to think about it in advance. I tell parents, be future tellers. Which child is going to stay? So again, today, another woman session. I always have live,
Yeah,
fresh examples. Was saying that they had guests and took a walk together, and this woman walked with her girlfriend and the child of the girlfriend, and the mother who called me had two children. One of them played with the friend's child, and the two adults were talking to each other. And the 5 years old was left with no attention because his sibling was playing with the other child, running forward. His mother was talking to her friend, and he was out there, like, what about me? So he took a stick and he banged on the guest, on the friend, right?
yeah,
And the friend actually handled it well, but the mother who called me wasn't sure that was, what do you do in this situation? I say, well, you think about it in advance and you probably bring another person on the walk who can be with your son. And if you don't have that, which, on the spot, you don't always have that, then you give attention to your son and the grown up can give up attention. You don't ask the child to give up attention for the sake of a grown up. The grown up is a lot more capable of understanding. Let me be with my child for a few minutes and then maybe he'll skip around and be happy again and we can talk. So I always
yeah,
tell the adult to wait, not to the child to wait. Doesn't mean that I never ask the child to wait. So I want to give another example so that you can see that if it is set respectfully in advance, you can ask children for lots of boundaries. So when I give a session, 50 minutes nonstop, it used to be a full hour. When my youngest was 3 years old, and before him, his brothers, same thing, I have three. I would sit him here on the floor by my side He wouldn't utter a sound for the whole session.
Wow.
But what I did is like before that, before the session, I would play with him, let him run, let him be loud, make sure he's fed. And then I would tell him, I'm going to give a session. Why don't you tell me what toys and activities you want to have with you so that you can sit for an hour quietly? And he would choose stuff and we would put it here, puzzles, blocks, whatever it is, and I get generally a few slices of a fruit or something in case he's hungry. So he can have everything. So other than needing to go to the bathroom, and we made sure he did that before, so it hardly ever happened. He never, ever, ever, neither one of them ever interrupted the session. So, and they went, starting at age 2.5, they attended classical music concerts and my lectures if they had to, because we had to travel together with my husband and they would want to see mommy doing the lecture. And they sat silently in the front row, never disturbing,
Wow.
in
That's
concerts and
amazing.
everything. So when the child is completely satisfied, so you make sure that if he's going to for a while not get attention, that he knows why, that he knows what to do, and that he gets a lot of movement and attention and noisiness before. So
Okay.
you don't go to a restaurant after 2 hours in a car,
Right. That
right?
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get out of the car, you go to a playground for an hour or two, let them run
Yeah.
around, and then choose a restaurant that has also another playground, a place to wait that isn't confined, depending on the ages of the children, of course. But usually that solves the problem. And a restaurant the kids like and want to go to and has food they want to eat. So it's a
Yeah.
combination. You have to meet the child's need. I've hired a babysitter to go with us on speaking. Like I would go for 3 days with my husband, the three kids, and a babysitter.
That makes sense.
Now pay for the hotel and the whole thing for another person because you need another person when you have three. One of them is 2 years old, still breastfeeding and everything, and one is 5 and still need a lot of attention, and the older one maybe can do with less, but still, So my husband alone wasn't enough.
Right.
So it's about setting things up so that there's no problem. So if I have a guest in my home, I plan in advance. If I want to be with the adults, just like in that taking a walk thing, who is going to be with the children? I don't just assume all the children will play peacefully together. One of them may come out, nobody is playing with me. I need you, mommy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it's very important to me to have an adult time, then I hire some babysitter, somebody that'll be with them, or we plan in advance to take turns. My husband was very generous man, and many times he knew I'm getting less social than him because I'm at home with the kids. And
Yeah.
the child who needs me, he'll take them out and engage with them and let me be with friends. But you can't just deprive the child for the sake of the adults.
It's listening to what you're describing, I mean it makes one pause and think is so much of our culture is really creating unrealistic expectations
Yes.
based on what is reasonable for a child at any given stage or where they are developmentally. So part of that empowerment process is meeting someone where they are and
Yes.
and doing that iteratively as they're growing, as the child's growing. And I don't know,
But the example that I gave with my children waiting, also when I teach piano,
oh,
shows
uh-huh.
also that they're very capable and you want to give them opportunities to practice self-discipline and the ability to be considerate of other people. But
You
you
know,
have to do it in balance. Yes, after they spend time in the playground running around and not after a car ride, they can sit quietly in a restaurant and behave beautifully. It was a joke in my family because every single time we went to a restaurant, it was like a clock. We could count on it. Somebody comes over from another table and say to me, "What do you do that your kids behave so well?" And my answer, nothing.
yeah.
They want to feed, they want to behave well of their own free will because
Yeah.
we are meeting their needs with respect so that when they come to the restaurant, they're not needy, they're hungry, they're excited about the food, and they're excited about being like everybody else and sitting around the table and playing restaurant.
A new adventure. Yeah.
Playing restaurant, being.
You You mentioned something that is such a good segue about discipline, about self-discipline, right?
Yeah.
And in our day and age, there's so much that is taking away from people's attention span with social media,
Mhm.
especially with, as teens, even preteens now. What do you find is particularly helpful for parents and empowering them, empowering their kids in that balance, because it's also such a rooted piece of community and connection for that generation too. And so that's an interesting dynamic and challenge.
It'll take time to see the final result of it as we evolutionize, if I can make up a word.
Yeah,
Uh, but for now, I don't think it's good news. I think anxiety and depression are partly a matter of food, partly a matter of protecting children too much and not letting them develop grit and failing, but part also being instead of in direct communication and in nature with kids and running and climbing on trees, they're sitting with gadgets and talking to what? To a square.
yeah, yeah,
Typing stuff. So I find from my personal statistics with parents that the best results come from the homes that fly against my lecture about freedom and letting the children decide for themselves. Because a lot of them who let the children do as much computer screen time as they want, some children are fine with it and know to set their own boundaries. Majority become addicted. So it's like saying, let them decide how much sugar they eat. It's addictive. So the eating of the sugar makes them want more sugar. So the discipline is really hard to do even for adults. So I most kids don't have that kind of discipline. So back to my statistics, the parents who completely forbid screens and don't have screens at home, or put their phones away when they come home from work, or not do it in front of the kids. They have one room with a computer and the kids don't go there, just a family office place. Uh,
yeah,
that they don't let their kids until they're real teenagers to have their own phones and to really go online. That so far seems to be the most successful in terms of preventing mental issues and weaknesses and dependency and there's so many bad things going on online and so many addictions that can develop content wise, and just the fact, and ruining the eyes and the emotional capacity to deal with real human beings. All of a
yeah,
sudden, I'd rather talk to my friend here than sit with them and talk to them. you know?
yeah. It's such a different way, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't have a final answer how to handle that. I know that parents who do the strict way, the kids are in good shape. They're not depressed and anxious when they go to college or high school. They don't have those bad outcomes and they're not addicted. Uh, but whether or not that's the best solution, I don't know. We are in the middle of a weird experiment.
Right. It's too
Yeah.
early to say, isn't it?
It's not exactly too early. We do have already at college level kids who grew up with a lot of it and it doesn't look good. But sometimes things don't look good, and then over a few generations, there is some adaptation. What do I know?
Yeah,
I really can't know, but it doesn't look good. It seems like, would humans just become Maybe they would lose their legs over millions of years, right? They don't need legs if they sit and talk on screens all the time. They don't need to
Yeah.
go anywhere. So I'm saying it jokingly. It's not happening. But the point is, if we look at the big picture of evolution, what do I know where it's going? In the here and now, what I see happens to kids, yes, we already see that the results for a lot of them is rather bad. So
Yeah.
I think having I teach parenting without control, but when it comes to addictions, you don't let the child go to the street and try heroin. You do
Yeah.
control that. You don't let them just eat as much sugar as they want, or seed oils or processed food and stuff. So there are things you don't let them really freely jump from the boat into the water, or freely go swimming because they not,
Exactly.
or run into the street when they're little. So there are a lot of things that are a matter of uh, safety that is a serious matter. So to me, this is a serious matter. I don't envy parents today. I escaped. My kids started having internet when they were all already teenagers.
Yeah.
They spent their childhood without. They played outside and climbed the trees and ran in the forest and played musical instruments and drew and acted and sports and. They didn't go to school, so they really had a fantastic opportunity. And if they had guidance
Wow.
all the time, I don't know what would have happened. They're really great. So I feel a lot of compassion to today's parents. It's it's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yeah.
Aside from that, are there some different tools and approaches that you find that work really well to help foster just healthy communication and openness between parents, moms, and their children? Just that beautiful connectedness.
I just noticed I can't see myself, but it's getting dark here. Are you losing my
I
vision?
no, I see you really well still.
Is this better though?
Yeah,
Too much?
no, it's great.
It's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so remind me again.
Oh, any like top tools or approaches for really fostering that healthy bond and connectedness and open communications,
Yeah.
especially in face of some of what you were talking about earlier, where there's
Yeah.
just a lot more prevalence of that anxiety and addictions
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes. Yes.
depressions and
So,
challenges with
so the kids
handling
are
life.
less, yeah, the kids are less likely to grow up and become addicted to anything, whether it's food or gadgets, if they feel empowered, when they are resilient emotionally and rooted in themselves. So that's why I gave the example of sleep, where the child sleeps, to empower a child to feel rooted in himself and trust himself. So no molestation,
Yeah,
no peer pressure would move him to obey, is that he constantly know how I feel inside is right, and it's being respected and responded to. Not like I feel like having a toy, not like teaching them to want things all the time, because
yeah,
that's not freedom, that's slavery, not addictions. But to know that we respond to real primal needs that are expressed by the child, also to allow emotional self-expression without idealizing it or dramatizing it, because we went through about a generation of almost idealizing. Oh, tell me how you feel. Maybe you need to cry about this, about that. And it's true, but we don't want to turn it into yet another God, another
yeah,
idol that everybody is so, because that's where the everybody is offended come from. It's like, oh, you said something that I can't handle. I want children to grow up being able to handle somebody calling them stupid,
right, right.
falling apart when somebody calls them stupid. And I want them to feel free to self-express, to feel safe to tell mommy I hate you, or
Yeah.
brother or sister, to feel free. And I teach that the answer is tell me more. What do you do if your child tell you I hate you? Tell me more. What do you hate the most? So they don't feel guilty about having a feeling and being honest.
Yeah.
In that moment, mommy didn't let them see the movie they want. Yeah, they feel like, gee, yucky mommy. Said, well, tell me how that feels. And then there's more likely they will listen to you and to your reasoning and why you're probably just protecting them or making sure they don't have too much screen or too much sugar or whatever it is. So you want them to be safe to talk to you because whatever they say, you're unconditionally loving, and that is you show interest in what's going on for them. If what's going on for them is, I hate my brother and I wish he wasn't here, you want to hear more about it.
Yeah. I
You
love
want
that.
to
Tell me
help them.
more.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
That's has become known as Naomi Aldort's magic words, because
Yeah.
culture says magic word is say please and thank you, which is obedience. The children don't even feel it this way. So I don't use this say please and thank you and I'm sorry. I teach to apologize in sincere ways by understanding
Yeah.
what's going on, and to feel gratitude, or for adults to notice when the child is very happy or give them a hug. That's gratitude. They don't have to say the words anyway. But I have my own magic words, and the magic words is not to teach the child to say, but to teach the parents to say. And the magic words is tell me more.
I love that.
And
That's
then when they tell you
so
more,
good.
you become even more interested. So you say, tell me more. Well, my brother did this and it. Oh my goodness. Well, tell me more about that. And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be all the time the same words, but it's like be interested and then be interested in what he's saying and then be interested and ask a specific question. Oh, so when you went to the bathroom, he took the blocks off of your tower to build his. Oh, I see. And then what
Yeah.
happened? So you show that you hear what the story is and you're interested in what would happen. And
Right.
and that just is so, they get that being rooted inside, they're being heard, because we are like zombies waiting to be heard. All of us, human beings, we're just starved to be heard.
Yeah.
So we're going around because the parents told us, no, we don't say that. Yeah, you can say that. That's what you feel in that minute.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, that's one of the most empowering things, right? The freedom of expression and
exactly.
being
Exactly.
true to
And it
yourself.
teaches you to listen to them. And the other thing, I want to go through a few things in terms of communication that empowers. So you want no fear in the house. You don't want a courthouse, but a love house.
Yeah.
You don't judge what happened between the kids. I teach not taking sides. You listen to each kid had they fight. They each child have their own experience. And each experience is right, and he's sure he's right. Listen to him.
Yeah.
Let him tell you more and hear them out. You don't have to make judgment. You don't have to say who is right and who is wrong and get one of them in trouble and one of them not. That just makes them do it again in order to get the brother in trouble now. So, or the
Yeah, that makes sense.
so make it safe to be themselves, to express their feelings, and then they actually behave so much better because they know that you would help them, you don't judge them, they're not afraid. They call you for help instead of punching the sibling because they know you
Yeah.
actually help them resolve the problem. And you let them cry. Don't suppress tears. Don't tell them not, don't cry, or don't say I hate you, or don't say I'm angry. And on the other side of it, don't praise, don't give prizes and punishment and consequences. Consequences are punishment, even natural consequences. It just scares the kids, and they're not free, and they cannot be powerful if they're not feeling autonomous. I don't like the word free as much as autonomous, rooted in themselves. None of us have complete freedom. Excuse me. None of us have complete freedom to do whatever we want.
What do you recommend in lieu of even natural consequences, for example?
There is no in lieu. You don't have to go in that direction.
Okay.
Life, the consequences, your teenager didn't wash the dishes. The consequences is the dishes are dirty.
Yeah.
The consequence is not you're not getting to your party.
Right,
It's
right.
punishment dictated by the adult just because they're an adult. That's it.
Yeah.
It teaches power control. So it's not that you don't have to do anything. Uh,
Yeah.
Punishment of any kind, whether by consequences or otherwise, does not teach anything but hate, anything but revenge, anything but in order to learn, you have to hurt someone so that they would learn. Well, what kind of lesson is that? You talk, if something was done that isn't appropriate, you talk about it, you resolve it, you come to a conversation about why it didn't work, teaching compassion, teaching what was it like for the other child? Did they have fun? I had a family intensive here where two boys kept hurting each other. And, boys like to wrestle, and it's all right as long as it's fun. And we established some rules. And I taught the parents to work with these rules that they created. I said, are you having, to the younger child, are you having fun the whole time when you do it? He said, no. Some of it is unpleasant. The older child, of course, had fun the whole time. I said, okay, so one of the rules can be something about fun. What did it be? And the older child said, make sure your brother has fun too.
Yeah.
Right, let's write it down. His idea, I mean, I led into it, but it was his idea. Let's make sure that the brother has fun, and also we established rule to not do it in public, so it's not about showing off who is stronger. So we established a bunch of rules, and children love rules if they make them.
So
So
they have a vested interest.
yeah,
It's again, it's part of the self-respect.
exactly, exactly. So if
Yeah, that's
don't
good.
take so well, part of the reason children misbehave with each other is to get the artillery to come and take sides. The artillery is the parents, right?
Yeah.
So I punch my brother, he screams, then he hits me, and then I cry, and mama comes in and takes sides with me as the victim against my big brother, right?
Yeah.
It's a great technology. It's, victims Olympics, and kids are
Wow.
good
It
at it.
perpetuates that cycle
The
where
whole
there's,
society
yeah,
is into victimhood now. So, but even before that, children love to play that game if we empower it. So
yeah,
if this happened and I come in and I don't take sides and just listen to each child over and over again, this child tells what happened to them, the other one said, no. Say, okay, now when he's done, then you'll tell your story. He's done, he tells his story, and now this guy said, no, that's not what happened. I said, just wait, you'll get to tell it again as many times as you want. And then we go back and forth this way until they both feel heard to the brim. And they
yeah,
don't care about solution at that point. They just want to go do something else. They get bored with it. Or else they find some solutions. And rarely you have to suggest solutions, but not taking sides, listening, not praising, not giving prizes, punishment, or consequences is prevents the seeking approval, because now the child isn't doing something in order to be praised, to impress, to
it
get a
helps them
prize.
learn to be, to
Yeah, do
just
what you
be.
want to do authentically. If you
Yeah,
play the piano, play the piano. If you want to play soccer, play soccer. It's not to impress me,
right.
not to be the best in the group. It's not about any of that. Enjoy yourself. So when a child
Yeah,
comes off, did something, accomplished something, and they tell me, is it good? Because they got used to evaluations, I tell them, did you enjoy yourself? That's what matters, the process. You don't have to be,
process.
yeah. And if they
Yeah,
fall, don't make a fuss about falls. You know,
right.
powerful people fall and get up, but it starts at 1 year old. You know,
Yeah.
when I saw my 2 years old here on the porch falling off a tricycle, and the tricycle fell on him, and he was by himself, where the rest of us were in the house, but I was watching him. And he screamed initially, then he looked around, saw that nobody was moved or thought that something horrible happened. And I looked carefully. I saw that nothing horrible happened other than the surprise and shock. And, you know, he got up, got back on the tricycle, and was riding again. And we never spoke about it. It was never a subject. It's like he fell off the bike, he went on the bike. Same when
Yeah.
they fall, when they learn to walk. Same if they make mistakes later on, or perform something, or don't play their sports the best they could, or fail in some test, or that's fine. It's just if we don't give any praise to the good tests, to the good grades, or to the good concert, or good sports play, or gymnastics, or whatever. We just, concentrate on the life, the process. Did you have a good time? Are you feeling good?
Yeah.
No, you don't? Okay. Maybe next time you'll do it differently.
I
You'll
love that. So it's
model it.
it's really reinforcing growth and the journey and the process without judgment and just reiterating that.
Yeah. Well, it's allowing rather than reinforcing. It's allowing the
Allowing.
child to reinforce himself. See, the culture is so much into like we're doing something for the children that even
Yeah.
the language represent that, like we're reinforcing. We're not doing anything. The
Mm,
child is growing up and becoming a powerful person. The more we get out of the way and just make the setting um, such that it enables their freedom and their ability to
that's
explore,
perfect.
the more they will become powerful and capable and resilient. You don't
I
have
love
to,
that.
yeah, you're not doing anything to them
It's
because
allowing.
because
It's the
we're
allowing.
not gods. We're not shaping human beings into who they are. They're born who they are. And
Yeah.
we provide a life, and they see what society and habits and culture is, and they join it. And the more they're in touch with themselves, then the more they're going to join it from a place of self-knowledge, self-realization, and therefore resilience and power and ability to fail, succeed without falling apart when they fail. Because if they only are happy when they succeed, how much in life do we constantly succeed? They're going to be miserable.
Yeah. Gosh, this is so good, Naomi. Oh my goodness. Such incredible pearls of wisdom. And I know we're
We're out
running
of
over a little
time.
bit on time, but you have offered a generous gift to our participants, and I wanted to give a moment to have you talk about that a little bit. And we have links below so they
So
can
what
access
link did
that.
I
But
give? I actually don't remember which link I gave.
oh, so it's naomialdort.com/parenting videos.
Oh,
And
okay.
then the other one was naomialdort.com/articles.
Right. So basically it's the everything on my website. So the resources that are free. So my website has you can sign up and have private session with me on Zoom, like the way we talk. You can come over here for a few days and have direct counseling and retreat and fun with the whole family. You can organize a workshop or a small group, you and your friends and or your extended family. So there are lots of things. Those are not for free. And there are some MP3s that are not for free, and some videos and full workshops that are on videos that are not for free. But the 2 pages, the 2 addresses I provided have lots and lots of stuff all for free. It's not one item. It's a gift that's like, I never counted, but lots of interviews, portions of classes and workshops, and and articles that were written over, what is it now, 30 some years.
you
My
so
youngest,
much.
my youngest is 31, so my goodness, I started writing for a mothering magazine when I was pregnant with him.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I started being invited to public speak and to give sessions, etc. So yeah, so though that's more than one gift. It's an access, a hint of how to get all my free stuff.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And for supporting women and parents and families and creating that healthy bond and
Yes.
honoring the gift that it is to be a parent
And we
and
didn't get
a
that much to today. I want to say one more thing about
yes,
parents
please.
taking Zoom sessions with me. One of the most frustrating things that parents express when they take Zoom sessions or come over here, if they can, is I wish I did it sooner. I wish I did it when they were little. So just to give a little sense to parents that there is an illusion in the early years that we're succeeding and we're making no mistakes because we love them so much and they don't need much and everything is all right. But then you come when the child is already 4 or 5, and I tell you, oh, okay, and we discover at age 2 or at age 1 or even before, if you knew that and you've done something wrong, this problem wouldn't have happened. So, the
Right.
formative years are at the very beginning, but they're also the ones where, as new parents of each child, and it can be our eighth child, but it's it's a new world in creation. We don't see, we're in it with the child. So we may not see. So don't hesitate. Even sometimes just a session here and there to see, am I on the right track? Or is there an issue here? Because sometimes we just don't know. We think, oh, everything is fine. And then
Yeah,
and
that's
then we regret. So dare to question things and not assume and not listen to others either. If others confuse you, listen to your child.
mm, that's brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good. Thank you, Naomi.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah.
You.
Well, this has just been fantastic. And I wanted to remind everyone who's watching, we have a private dedicated Facebook group for this retreat. And I encourage you to join. The link is below. So go ahead and click on that. Just take a few minutes. A wonderful container for community and just continued inspiration and connection and support for people of like-minded efforts that are wanting to become more empowered. And thank you again, Naomi. This has been wonderful. And thank you all for joining us.